And thanks for staying with us here on the Joy News channel. Trade and Industry Minister Alan Kyerematen says he is a great transformer and is on an agenda for a transformational plan for Ghana, which will be he will be seeking to implement once he gets the nod as the President of the Republic. Alan Cash, as he's affectionately called, says he believes that the President Akufo-Addo could have done things differently. The former government appointee was speaking in a televised address last night.
The President has laid a strong foundation for the socio-economic development of our country, although I believe there are things that could have been done differently. My vision is to build a superstructure on this foundation that will bring prosperity to our nation. The pre-COVID-19 performance of our economy, the flagship programs, including the free SHS, the One District, One Factory initiative, the Planting for Food and Jobs program, the Agenda 111 project, and the COVID-19 response initiatives are all testimony of the strong leadership that the President has provided over the last 6 years. In spite of all the above, however, it is an undeniable fact that the combined effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war has stampeded our country into a crisis of unprecedented proportions, with a negative impacts on the economy, on businesses, and on our social lives. I have no doubt that the anticipated International Monetary Fund IMF support package will restore confidence in our economy and bring it back to pre-COVID levels. Fellow countrymen and women, this is the 17th time that we have gone to the IMF over the last 57 years. We promised never to go back, but we've gone back. One of the lessons that we have learned from the recent developments is that Ghana's economy is still fragile, vulnerable, and susceptible to both external and domestic shocks. This primarily is as a result of the fact that our economy is highly dependent on the export of commodities with little or no value addition. Indeed, the 5.1% projected GDP growth for the Ghanaian economy for 2023 is based on the anticipated increase in commodity prices. To avoid going back to the IMF, we need a new plan, a plan that will lead us to a more self-reliant and resilient economy. That plan must move Ghana from stability and growth to transformation. Fellow countrymen and women, if by the will of God and through your goodwill, I'm voted first as the flag bearer of the NPP and subsequently as President of the Republic in the next general elections, I will become the transformational leader of our time, who will build on the foundations that have been laid by successive leaders of our nation over the last 65 years. To achieve this strategic goal of transforming our dear country to become the shining star of the new Africa, I will, as President, launch and lead the execution of the Great Transformational Plan, GTP of Ghana, which will span the period 2025 to 2030. The post-COVID economic recovery program, currently being implemented with the anticipated support from the IMF from 2023 to 2025, will be a transitional economic program leading to the rollout of this great transformational plan. Countrymen and women, before I proceed to provide a brief insight into the key elements of this great transformational plan, 7 critical considerations will need to be taken into account to guarantee the success of the plan. First, the primacy of the private sector in our national development agenda. The private sector, both domestic and foreign, formal and informal, has to be at the center of our transformational agenda. The government's focus must be to facilitate the process of making our private sector competitive by creating an enabling environment for businesses. 2, attitude to work and enforcement of discipline. We as a people should appreciate the need for discipline in all spheres of our national lives and change our attitude to work. Whether you are working for the private sector or for government, as a worker, you are not doing a favor to your employer. It is your duty to ensure that you earn your living from the efforts of your labor. 3, corruption and petty theft or thievery, particularly from the public purse, deny our country the benefits of utilizing its tax revenue and other resources for the development of our country. 4, the arrogance of power has been a major obstruction to progress in our country. People in positions of authority must understand that leadership is an opportunity to serve the people and not to lord over them. In servant leadership, humility is an asset and not a weakness. 5, passion for excellence. As a country, we must celebrate competence and excellence and not mediocrity. 6, as a people, we must focus more on getting things done than just talking.
Alan Kyerematen, I want to bring in now former MP and a member of the communications team for the Alan's campaign, Catherine Apeku. Thank you for your time here on The Pulse. So when your candidate says things could have been done differently, exactly who was he referring to? President Akufo-Addo? Hello, madam. Thank you for joining us here on The Pulse. I was just asking the question that your candidate was pointing out that things could have been done differently in terms of handling the economy. Exactly who was he referring to? The president?
Good afternoon, Blessed, and thank you for having us on your show, and a big afternoon to your cherished listeners. I don't think in his speech he made any mention of any particular name. There are different governments, different leaders in our times, as he made mention of the last 57 years. So I think it would be a little mischievous if we pinpoint a particular leader, especially our own leader and our own government. He did not say that. Let's not impute meanings into his statement. His statement is a build-up on the transformational agenda, of which he is part of until the 16th of January. And he just laid out his vision. It's actually a welcome call for other aspirants, potential leaders who will take the baton from President Akufo-Addo to also lay out their vision and let the people, the delegates, and the nation discern, see, and then ascertain who's best fit and best ready to take the baton. So I think that's what I would take as an import.
What empirical evidence is available to give confidence to Ghanaians that this is a man that indeed has that transformational plan?
Can you repeat that? I'm actually
what evidence?
The voice is not clear.
Well, I'm just asking what evidence is available for Ghanaians to indeed trust that this is the man who has the transformational agenda.
The evidence is in his track record, Blessed. This gentleman is not a novice. He's been around for the last 20 plus years. His track record speaks for itself, from his days of an ambassador, a former minister in trade under Kufuor, a minister of trade that ends at the 16th, leading in the UN, going through UNCTAD, doing the EU, the AU. So this is not someone who's just off the mill. Alan Kyerematen is a household name, and his economic prowess, his legal background is something that Ghanaians, especially the business community and the party at large, are very, very conversant with. So if you need evidence, they will say it's in the pudding. People do know of the brand Alan Kyerematen, and he's actually appealing with his vision, which is building upon the transformational agenda that you all have been witnesses to, the automotive policy. Now we have vehicles being assembled in Ghana. Hitherto it wasn't there. 8 years of NDC. We didn't hear or see any of these innovative policies. We have the AFTA, African Free Continental Trade, with the headquarters in Ghana, and he was one of the chief architects making it happen under the leadership of Akufo-Addo, the president. So evidence is abound. We are going into a contest and people will have the opportunity to sell themselves, sell their vision. He's proactively, strategically led by stepping out and telling Ghanaians his plan. It's a build-up on the transformational agenda of the government that he has been part of, and until January 16th, he will exit. So evidence abounds, blessed.
Some have asked the question about due process. Why announce almost what's like a manifesto to the people of Ghana, even when your political party is yet to go through that process of choosing the next flag bearer of the NPP? It's as though he's setting himself as the de facto leader of the NPP.
I think that's an opinion that may not be shared by a lot of people. If you're a leader, you are born ready, you prepare for the opportune moment. This is a gentleman with a track record of excellence. He has stepped out of government. He has a lot of followers, and they would want to hear from him as he had pledged in his build-up to resigning, leaving office, stepping down, that he would speak to his constituents to give them a reason why he's stepping out. So as to the timing, it was well thought through. He had advisors, he had a team, he had people who work with him who are always on point. So the timing, for your opinion or for a few people, majority will always lead. And he feels very strongly that this was the right moment. And you've seen it. It's on all the social media and all the analysis that has been out there. The timing is perfect. In fact, it was way overdue. So I don't think the timing is wrong. What he said is purely proactively sharing some of his thoughts with the good people who are discerning enough to know that he is preparing himself, lacing his boots, and stepping out. Others are taking cue, they've stepped out. Others will also, in good time, come out with their vision and their plan. This just shows a mark of leaders. The leader is always prepared. As for timing, it is in the head of the leader, and when he strikes, you know that he's ready. So, not everybody is going to agree that his timing is good, perfect, or bad. But in our midst and what is happening, hope is needed, and he has stepped out at the right time to let people know what he stands for. I don't think it's bad. Blessed. I don't think there's anything wrong with that at all.
And the choice of words that he puts out in the statement has brought up a lot of questions as to whether or not he's running away from responsibility. This is a man who was part of the economic management team when an economic crisis has not owned up for what many say is, partly to blame for. Why didn't he take that responsibility and say, we apologize for how we've managed the economy?
Blessed, I think you're not being fair to our government. When the heat was on, Kyerematen, the outgoing Minister of Trade, was on air all over the country. One of your sister stations, Asempa, which broadcasts across the nation, heard him loud and clear, assuring the citizenry that this is just a valley, we will come out. He was on Paul Adam Orchard, not your station, but a sister station on Good Evening Ghana, extrapolating and sharing the assurances given at cabinet to the nation. This is a gentleman who proved his mettle and allowed the Ghanaians to see that when under pressure, he stands out. The economy is not in tatters. We are coming out and we are on the path of recovery. The IMF deal is through, and in the next 3 years, we will go through this strict fiscal discipline and come out with flying success. So this is a time for those who are ready to lead to step out, allow government business to go on, not distracted. Blessed, I think the timing is right. There's nothing to apologize and be sorry for. All discerning Ghanaians know that we are at the corner. We are turning around. Look at this currency that brought the brouhaha. You know and I know because you have it every day on your station.
Yeah, but I'm asking the question. Yes,
we are making a turnaround. It doesn't happen overnight, but all people who have been patient following the NPP government knows that we have done what it takes to stand in the gap when it was really tough. The dollar is going down to 5.7 very, very soon. So please give us credit because we have done what we can do. We had to do so. There was no light at the tunnel. We've had worse crisis without COVID, without Ukraine, and we survived in this nation. We are resilient people, but give credit to MPP. We have done well. We are around the corner, the bend, and we will overcome this together.
Well, I'm not asking necessarily because of what I think about the NPP government, but even if you go to portions of that statement by Alan Kyerematen himself, after 6 years, he's telling us that he's learnt the lesson that our economy is still fragile and weak and vulnerable to external shocks and factors. So it appears that we have a hard time coming up ahead, as his warning is about.
Blessed, if you go back in our history, even in 1960, the economy was still undergoing shocks. When we overdepend on raw materials as a nation, we will always have these shocks. So it is nothing new. And when a gentleman who's been around the mill, who has been part of the process of the transformation, speaks the truth, I don't think we should criticize ad nauseum. He said it like it is. Africa, as a continent, we overdepend on raw materials, and we are at the mercy of the winds of change in other global markets. I don't think it's anything or an indictment on anybody. It's on us as Africans to look and do the paradigm shift of adding value. The NPP government, second term, has started that, and he is sharing his vision that given the opportunity, given the baton, as he's poised to be the next leader, he will expand the transformation agenda as in the GTP. So, I mean, it's all the dots are crossed, all the T's, and you can see this man is ready when given the opportunity. As for the dissecting and reading through the lines, that is our job. You and I will have to read and then go through it word for word and scrutinize, but it won't change the course. The course is he's ready to lead. He's the right man to win power for the party, and the baton will move from MPP government to NPP government. That is what we are talking about. The man is ready, others are ready, and we'll all go out and compete, and the best man will get the job to continue from where His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo will leave it.
Finally, there are talks about a merger, a possible blend of having the Bawumia-Alan Bawumia campaign combining forces to contest the 2024 elections. Have you put this to your preferred candidate?
Blessed, have you heard of a Jogate Bawumia ticket, a Bachi Ejako Bawumia ticket? Have you heard of Adainimo Bawumia ticket? Have you heard of any of Akoto Bawumia ticket or Kennedy Bawumia ticket? Why Alan Bawumia ticket? It tells you these two are the top contenders from the analysis that you're making. But I think that the stuff you said is just what it is, talk. People, every single person in that category that I've mentioned is poised, is ready, and they will compete on their own merit. Until the National Council comes out with that kind of statement, it's just talk, where we should leave it.
So this is not something Alan will be open to?
I cannot hold brief for that, but I know that in competition, that is not what it's about. You compete effectively, and when you win, you continue, and if you lose, you support the winner. I don't think this unity talks is here or there. We are in the same fraternity, and we are competing on our merit. Those who have allowed themselves and ready to be scrutinized and judged on their own merit and leadership acumen will not want to do any unity talk at this juncture. I think it's a bit premature. That's why I use the word, it's just talk. I have not heard anything of that sort from him, and I've not heard that from National Council, the ultimate body that will decide the party's direction. So we can leave it as that. It's talk and speculation. But every single person that I've mentioned is ready to contest for a viable position as the leader to serve the nation, not to unite with anyone.
It's here for now, but I'm sure that we'll reconnect in the coming days.
Oh, definitely, Blessed. I'd love to come to the studio and have a chit chat with you.
Definitely. We'll do that one of these days. But I'm grateful for your time.
Year.
Happy New Year. And it's